Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Do I look like a clown? I feel like I look like a clown. I've done something a bit different with my makeup today. Can you tell what? Probably not. Let's just get on with it. So, one of Russell Brand's exes wrote a book about him and their relationship 10 years ago. And I only found this out recently. And I think it highlights a few things about him that will be interesting to talk about. So it's called Not Entanglement with a Celebrity. And the author tells it in third person. She calls herself Dina and calls him Randall Grand. From a quick Google, it's very easy to find out who the author of this piece actually is because she once went to the Daily Mail about his behaviour, and I remember reading about it a few years ago. The book itself, right, it goes back and forth a lot, which is quite annoying. One moment it'll be early in 2007, then it'll be like a flash forward, then a flashback, and it's just continuously like that. So the narrative jumps around a lot. So I've done my best. Bear with me. There's also some metaphorical stuff about her shedding him, and there's a snake. And if I was the editor of this book, I would have deleted all of that, just because I think it kind of takes away someone else's book. I wrote a book, Prime Minister's Porky Mistress, out on Kindle. $2.99. Go buy it. Give me 5 stars. Give me 1 star. I don't care. Just give me a star. Anyway, let's get on with this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, it's told in third person. And I think it's interesting to get a picture of who Russell Brand is. He is who he has been telling us he is all this time. You know, the Messiah Complex tour. That's genuinely who he is as a person. But the more serious stuff about his behaviour happens towards the end. So bear with. She is distracted away from her stare by the rotation of Randall's head over his right shoulder. He continues to speak in an accusatory tone. You are a flirt, Jardina. Dina is silent, still confused by his harsh manner and a little embarrassed by the commotion. You've just spent most of the time at the meal talking to the only other bloke with us. Why would I tell her anything about you? Randall spits, as if affirming her insignificance. Anybody else would have asked the other person where they lived too, but you carried on talking to that bloke. His expression is one of victory. She is still filled with puzzlement. He continues with a conclusive tone. You are a flirt, and I think that I might as well take you off my prospective girlfriend list. Dina only ever expected to have some fun, but she is fast realising that Randall Grand is not always the fun character he portrays himself to be. Also, the chapter titles end up spelling out facts. It's like FFFAAA. Deliberately. She has not seen Randall for some time, although they still have the occasional phone chat or text exchange compromising of his predictable question, are you single yet? So they were friends for years before getting together at Russell's constant insistence. Dina had sensed solemnity as he had turned to greet his friends. It seemed to be part of Randall's internal makeup, this sadness, particularly post-performance, heaviness. She had been at a modelling job and had seen his name on her contacts list, so she had decided to relieve mischievous boredom. Sarcasm with a hint of sweetness, but nothing sexual. His response had been, phone me when you ain't married. He has an inability to see women as anything other than sexual conquests, which we kind of knew anyway. But my theory is it just hasn't changed. And they were friends before she got married. They stayed friends, and then post-divorce, they end up dating briefly. He is somehow calmer than she remembers. It is post-performance, and it is likely he has already indulged in a sexual act or two with a willing fan or two before his journey home. Again, something she has yet to learn about him. I will say, controversial thing to say, the author of this book does low-key think quite a lot of herself because she does liken herself via other people to Cleopatra. It's a bit Coho-esque. But then she says stuff like this, and I think this is meant to be endearing, but it's not. She looks up as she feels his hands grip her waist. I'm no size 0, she jokes, mainly because she is well aware of his recent encounters with a waif supermodel, aka Kate Moss, but no one's Kate Moss. Good, he says with adamancy in his voice. Randall later admits to enjoying sex with a variety of different shapes and sizes, and Dina is a curvy type with long, shapely limbs, proportionate. Which is faux humility, because there's pictures of this author online and in the book itself, and she's really slim and in shape. Like, just because you're not Kate Moss doesn't mean you're curvy. You know, the images of, like, when the word curvy is used, I think of someone a bit more voluptuous. regardless. And there's also like, I cut a lot of them because it just wasn't that relevant, but I'm just going to say it because I'm here and I'm talking now. There's quite a lot of, you know, because it's in third person, there's quite a lot of like Jardina like looks sexy and has sexy hair and blah, blah, blah. And it's just a bit like, okay. She receives a text from and there's like some pick me moments. We'll get there, don't worry. She receives a text from Randall moments after his driver has dropped her off at the top of Great Portland Street, so Randall can host his weekly BBC radio show. She is not surprised by her message and thinks of it as sweet. Dina later learns in their relationship that Randall considers these messages as administration. After he has exhausted all of his hypnotic wooing techniques, he pounces, and then his interaction is purely sex-focused, known to him as mere admin. He tells her that he has learned that if this small effort is made, then his options are left open, that the girls involved in these escapades do not feel used. And as a result, the majority of them do not sell their story for a quick buck. Many stories are sold about Randall, but these are usually from females that help him to appear more famous, the wannabe celebrities or reality TV personalities. Therefore, he has a use for it, so he's actually fine with it. She is unaware that Randall was seeing a young girl called Lisa. That might be the person who's now his wife. The names are swapped around for this, but you can work out quite easily who the author is talking about. And Dina learns later that Randall has roses delivered to Lisa in the morning. The conversation of him being attached has not been raised. He had made a point about her being single, and so Dina assumes that he is as well. She goes round Russell's, only to find that an older lady is outside his flat yelling for him. She gets picked up in his car, and the lady tries to barge her way into the vehicle. Also, in the previous paragraph, lol, she referred to other women as females. Stranger things have happened, I'm sure. That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, she obviously thinks she knows you. Deluded, Dina pauses and sighs. Or maybe you have met her before. Dina thinks the situation is amusing in hindsight and tries to be lighthearted and chatty. Randall's response is factual and delivered with serious bluntness. The truth is that she probably sucked my in the toilets of a grotty pub after a gig. Lovely. That's the Russell we know and not even tolerate. Also, Russell has sex with women. We know that. But then he immediately feels depressed and guilty about it after. She recalls their first time meeting. Dina is still smiling wide and sincere. She warms to the happy chap, welcoming his quirky flattery and attempting to decipher his eloquent yet unnecessarily complex choice of vocabulary. Even with her intellect, his sentences border on unintelligible utterances. That's because his sentences are unintelligible nonsense. There's literally nothing wrong with Dina's intellect and everything wrong with him for his gratuitous abuse of the English language. Don't make you sound smarter to speak the way he does. Talk normal, Russell Brand. As I said, the narrative goes forward and backward in time, so rather than spend every 2 minutes trying to work out what moment in time it is, unless it's completely relevant, I'll just be picking out info I find relevant to this video. If you need more context, then you just have to check out the book yourself. But it is quite short, it's like 200 pages. While she has not avidly followed his career, she is aware, and I don't think that many people know it, because I didn't know about this book until I heard about it online very recently and then decided to do this video. So yeah, go check it out. While she has not avidly followed his career, she is aware that he has finally attracted mainstream media and after all of his efforts has some kind of following. She is not really aware at this point of his deep desire for fame, although on their previous meetings and phone calls she has sensed his ache to be somebody, to be noticed, to be listened to. A king of sorts, a public figure with voters, or a prophet with disciples. For now, however, he clearly enjoys audiences of small gigs, viewers of television shows, and the female fans, hoping perhaps that one day he may well be the most famous man in the world, possibly validating his own existence, because without all of this, he just has himself, a man with a smile on his face, with a seemingly sorrowed centre. And I don't believe that's changed, because if he was happy just being himself, why has he turned to right-wing grifting and praying in theatres with Jordan Peterson? Why has he done that then? Oh, because he's got rubbish. Absolute rubbish. No, he don't. Well, he probably does have faith. Like, I'm not discrediting that. But everything you'll see throughout this, everything he does is very calculated. And I think his pivot to right-wing American Christianity, let's call it, is calculated because most of his audience is now in America, which is still a pretty Christian country. So I think it's all completely calculated. Otherwise, the Russell Brand that, we knew several years ago would have been more inclined to turning to Buddhism rather than Christianity. No offense, Christians, but with his trajectory, it doesn't make any sense. Dina also works in media doing all sorts. So whilst being married, she meets up with Russell for a business meeting to try to get him to do a shoot with her company, but he keeps flirting with her. Dina considers his flirting to be part of his character, hence harmless. She learns in a couple years' time that Randall often refers to women as beautiful, whilst his inner monologue translates these charming words to, "You are flippable," and further still to, "Will you flip me?" Aww, called me beautiful once. That's nice to know. We can still have sex, Randall states with conviction. It seems to dawn on him that subtlety will not work with Dina, nor will harmless flirting, so he clearly opts for the more overt approach. Again, Dina laughs in response, as his comment is so preposterous in her mind that he must be joking. "Why don't you fancy me? Every woman fancies me," he gloats. Wearing an expression of disbelief, Randall stands up and slides his long arms into the lined sleeves of his black blazer. He pulls the left panel open and displays the label inside. "Prada," Dina reads aloud. "Do you like it?" he says in a way that a child would when showing off a new toy. So then she ends up wondering, why don't I fancy him? I feel like he gaslit her into that by just repeating it enough times. "A hotel," he exclaims, almost as if the building has, and this is still a business meeting FYI, almost as if the building has been constructed within minutes prior to them gracing the pending pavement outside its ugly gates. Now, with an animated and smug expression, he places his umbrella at his feet and points behind Dina. She turns and sees the hotel he is referring to. "We can go in there and have sex," he tells her with a sprightly "you only live once" attitude, having stumbled across what obviously seems to him as the perfect solution for her refusal, which in his mind has obviously been due to there not being a convenient place for him to turn his sexual innuendos into practice. "You are hilarious. I am married and I'm not a slapper," she replies with amused amazement. He does sound exhausting to be around for any length of time. "Okay, stand an inch from my face for one whole minute and I'll bet that you will kiss me. You won't be able to resist." He keeps trying it and she keeps rebuffing. 2007. She is far from surprised to see a table covering of scattered papers, today's and yesterday's newspapers, open on pages with Randall's face, his overexposed image accompanying headlines that he admits brings him self-acceptance or annoyance, exposure either way, and so mission accomplished for the day. Dina has learned that Randall experiences these rapid shifts in moods that can go from one emotion to the next, with highs and lows in a matter of minutes. This is most apparent after his performances, where he seemed euphoric, invincible, on stage more so than in front of the camera. She knows he loves the stage, the live audiences, the instant admiration, the crackle of applause echoing through his loneliness. Perhaps it is the approval of hearty laughter that makes him feel alive, full of purpose. But after the laughter has died down, his mind and body become aware of his addictions and of his insecurities. Dina knows this of him all too well. Which again, I must have last seen him gig a few years, like maybe 3 years ago. I don't know. I didn't want to go. I was given a ticket, so I went. It was in Bath, and even then, we're only talking like 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3. I got no concept of time. It was after the lockdowns. Even then, he would talk on stage about how, it's all great, well and good when he's on stage, but afterwards he's just a man in the back of a car being driven home, and it's lonely and sad. He's not changed. He's just managed to convince people that he's changed. And I saw people being like, "Oh, but he was very upfront about how awful he used to be when he was on drugs, and these women came coming out saying about him assaulting him." And it's like, yeah, but the time period in which he was doing that stuff was actually post addiction, like recovery era. Russell Brand was allegedly doing that stuff. So learn to read. Maybe Randall had reassured her weeks ago that they will last the test of time if she just goes with the flow. "Ignore everybody else. It's about you and me," he had said. The problem with this for Dina is that there are a lot of other people other than the you and me always around. The entourage, the fans, the girls, and the alter egos. The nature of their relationship does confuse me because she stays monogamous to him, but he cheats constantly, and then I think sometimes they engage in threesomes together. We get more to it later. And she doesn't have that much emotional reaction to these things in the book. I don't know. In this chapter, she is attempting to leave him because we've gone forward, and like it would have been better just to do this in order, but whatever, it's someone else's healing process, so I should stop being snippy. He is still standing so close to her. You better not meet someone else, he says several times. See, he has a possessiveness to her whilst he shags about because he's a hypocrite. Randall's words do not stop. They ping-pong around Dina's soul, taunting her. You better not meet someone else. Will you? Will you? Let's get married. You're making yourself indispensable. You just want me for my fame. You're a parasite. I love you, you twit. I just go a bit mad sometimes. You are such a good-looking woman. Should we go to the zoo? You're so cool. Let's get married. Thanks, brown eyes. Do you want £1,000,000? Don't leave me. Then there's all the silly metaphorical snake god shedding nonsense that I am skipping through. 2001. God, you are beautiful, he pauses. You look just like me. 2005. Are you still with that bloke? Yes, I'm engaged. What'd you do that for? Dina laughs at Randall's forward tone and what seems to be annoyed disbelief. Should be annoyed disbelief, but she wrote annoyed disbelief. It's fine, don't worry. Do you know what, actually? I'm going to do some more book reviews and stuff this month, the longer ones. It's been a while since I've done them. I'm going to be less snippy about like any formatting, not spelling mistakes, because when you use Kindle Create and then when you upload to Kindle itself, it will highlight if it thinks there are any grammatical issues or spelling mistakes. So there's no excuse for spelling mistakes in ebooks, but formatting issues, I don't think I made too much of a big fuss about them before, because the way that I have to format my ebooks, I like to do them in a program different to Word, and then I import them over to Word, so then my friend my editor, he is my mate, can annotate them. But then you can't export, you can export Word to PDF, but PDF is useless for Kindle Create. So then I have to put them back onto the other writing program that I like to use, because they have a more direct option for doing it with Kindle. And because of the constant copy and pasting, it causes some formatting errors that I go through and check, but I might miss one or two because it's annoying. It's mainly the little indents, in the beginning of paragraphs that have the issues. So I'm going to be actually a lot less snippy about that moving forward. But if people's books are still shit, I've got more room to talk now because mine are brilliant. Anyway, his response is humorless. She begins to realise that Randall believes if a woman is settling down, then there is a barrier between them, yet still the possibility that he will end up having sexual intercourse with her. Dina has never had any intention of sharing saliva with Russell, let alone any other body fluid. He does not repel her, but still she does not fancy him. We can still be friends, she suggests. No, we can't, comes this adamant response. Men and women can't just be friends, Jardina. Any relationship you have with a male will always be based on his primitive desire to have sex with you. Oh look, he was doing the alpha male grift before it was cool. Then again, I doubt Russell has the ability to be friends with anyone, male or female, because he would never be able to sincerely put anyone else forward for any extended period of time. That includes his wife and kids. Oh, I went there. I think he cares about his dog though. I reckon his dog is the only person he actually truly loves in this lifetime. His dog and his old cat Morrissey. 2007. Since being with Randall, she has refused most modelling jobs so that she can be around her busy boyfriend. She has also continued paying rent at her penthouse while living with him. Some of her belongings are in this flat, folded next to a few random garments accidentally left behind by random female visitors. The majority of her things, however, patiently wait for her in a huge custard-coloured box at a storage facility. And although Randall has offered to pay for this, she maintains her financial independence. She feels secure by his keenness towards her, like they know each other and can support each other. She doesn't yet see the unhealthy nature of their union. She mistakes her desire to be needed with being a good girlfriend and confuses his apparent instinct to control as being a caring boyfriend. Controlling? No way. She is mid-sentence speaking with her landlord on the phone, perched on the edge of Randall's bed looking up at him. She squints a little because of the light that is flooding in through the white sheer drapes surrounding Randall's silhouette. He looks even taller than usual. He hangs over her, expectant in his bearing, impatient even. Dina jumps slightly because Randall swipes her mobile from her hand and away from her right ear. He is being controlling, but she welcomes it. Confusing it with supportive boyfriend behaviour, she is relieved she does not have to deal with her belligerent landlord. She just listens. Hello there, this is Jardina's boyfriend, Randall. Dina is a little nervous. Randall has insisted on sorting out her situation, which has changed since she has been spending almost every night at his flat. I understand, yes, but could you transfer Jardina the £400 that you owe her, or I can send a car to get it picked up if it's easier. Randall is polite but firm, similar to how a politician would approach an awkward public speech, well paused, well paced, passively aggressive. 2007. I must have liked you because I wouldn't have kept your number for so long. I only keep girls' numbers on my bad phone if I had already had sex with them, and you have always been on my good phone, which only has my mates and work people on. That is some casual disregard for the human dignity of others, Russell. 2007. He wears outrageous clothes that adhere to his media status and his public persona. Without this, Randall seems perfectly content in jeans and a t-shirt, of a particular cut and design, but plain and understated. This is how Dina likes him, without the makeup and definitely without the make-believe. The costumes he wears are just that. They are not outfits that reflect his character, but Dina thinks they may maybe function as more of a mask that disguise and protect him. They make him feel accepted, but perfect for an actor or a child enjoying a game of dressing up. Dina likes this whimsical behaviour he oozes when he is presenting on radio. The detachment of the audience enables the material to be organic and real, but like any performance, he has to feel satisfied with the outcome. She learns more and more that post-performance is a tough time for Randall, and it is made even harder for them both if he is disgruntled. Then, later on in Hawaii, the Hawaii time period is where he was filming Forget It, Sarah Marshall. So, like, attempting to break America. Randall's telephone guest is Kirsty, the famous widow of a rock star Chad. Of Rockstar Chad, not a Rockstar Chad. AKA, it's Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain. Without Dina prompting Randall prior to the show, he had told her he has never had sex with Kirsty, despite the media reports. Dina accepts it. She is unaware of the speculations anyway, and does not mind even if Kirsty has been a past sex conquest of Randall's. After all, she is aware that there are few women Randall has met and not slept with, or at least not thought about sleeping with. It's me, I'm one of the few. Dina had only been briefly shocked when he had told her that one of his close colleagues had been a past sexual partner, but he claims to be a sex addict, and so sex is required to function, similar to the brushing of teeth, the drinking of water, the washing of hands. Randall openly admits that sometimes he has sex, even if the desire is not there. Dina thinks that it somehow helps to distract him from other areas of his life. Now teetotal, he has perhaps displaced his drugs and alcohol addiction onto these sexual escapades with any willing female party. Some have involved men, but Randall is not bisexual. He is very much an alpha male. So straight and alpha, he will have sex with men just to assert his dominance. Someone tell Tucker Carlson. And Jordan Peterson. The head of the Pride, not attracted to all of the females he encounters, but more likely craving the machismo effect of sleeping with many women. Along with the obvious endorphin release after an orgasm, during sex sessions, the satyr feels accomplishment and reward. However, afterwards, guilt often creeps in. So after the radio interview with Courtney Love, so did you think it was okay? Randall asked, showing signs that are obvious to her that he was unhappy with the way the radio show has gone. His frown is deep, shoulders slumped. His energy lacks affection. His overall expression is one of deflation, and there is a definite agitation in the air. Yeah, it was okay. Just a good job it is pre-recorded, she says, and pauses, but knowing that he will require further explanations, she supplies. Because the interview with Kirsty was a bit awkward, you know. At least that bit can be edited out. You're supposed to make me feel better, not worse, he retorts. Dina is accustomed to Randall's self-pitying spats towards her. She cannot seem to say the right thing, even if it is true, and he appears oblivious to the fact that she is a little jarred by the Hollywood singer's comments, and even though she has never met Kirsty, she is fully aware that the blonde rocker disapproves of her relationship with Randall. Courtney thinks that Russell shouldn't have a girlfriend, so then Russell tries to send Dina home flippantly, so Dina goes, alright, bet, and then Russell changes his mind. I don't want you to go. Kirsty is crazy anyway. I was just thinking she might be right, after what Kate said too at the airport. Dina recalls the comment Randall was referring to, which had been made by the upfront glamour model beauty, Kate, who had been very sweet and chatty at the airport when the couple bumped into her and her husband Paul. I'm very convinced this is Katie Price and Peter Andre, which you know is rich if she's commenting about other people's relationships. She had said that the relationship would not last the distance of a nearly 3-month trip. This has obviously struck a chord with the cautious and somewhat non-committal Randall, and has perhaps made him think about throwing in the axe. Oh, Dina says, wondering why he is so easily affected by other people's comments, especially those who judge without knowing her. 2007, Hawaii again. Dina sits up and props up her pillows, engrossed in a self-help book titled Codependency No More. She is shifted out of her read as she feels the weight of the bed lighten. Randall stands. She looks up at him. He stretches and then slouches his shoulders forward again. He carries his book towards the sink in the kitchenette, where a bowl of fresh fruit lays on the work surface next to the basin. Dina watches as Randall lowers his white Y front and raises his penis into the sink. He urinates. Her world is revolved around his world, and all of her skills are somehow utilised to support him in one way or another. This includes her natural instinct to care, and she has spent several days emptying the 2-litre bottle that Randall has used as a urinal during the night and sometimes during the day. The plastic tower stands full of golden glory next to the bed until she cleans it. She has known from the onset that he is very primitive in nature. It had dawned on her after the second time they had been in bed together and he had allowed a fart to freely escape his body. He had not flinched, he had not excused himself. Can you imagine any man making excuses for a female partner who squats over the sink in the morning and keeps a huge bottle of piss on the go? Imagine the Reddit threads. She knows that he is homesick here in Hawaii, but she can see little effort made by him to move forward. His filming schedule allows time for relaxing, keeping fit and enjoying the island, yet Randall has insisted on shutting himself off from this paradise prison, miles away from his home comforts, his friends, and the gaggle of girls available on speed dial for booty calls 24/7. He clearly chooses to spend most of his time inside this luxury bungalow with the curtains pulled shut, watching DVDs and reading. And so Dina joins him. I've said this before, but all of Russell Brand's experiences were waste upon him. Also, I'd love to know what was on his reading list. Probably the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Nonce. Nonce is in the... idiot. Not nonce is in the pool breach. Since reading Chad's biography, Randall has been immersed in the story, striking upon similarities between his own character and the dead rock star. Perhaps he feels closer to Chad because he is a friend of Chad's widow, Kirsty. Dina has teased him about his obsessive avid reading because she cannot see his fascination with it. He reads the book at breakfast, in the hammock, in the bed, in the bath, and on the toilet. Dina has never had a fanatical interest in any celebrities, not having any heroes or heroines of worthy note, and Randall has questioned this. I think I would too. She cannot answer because she does not have an answer. However, she has not met anybody as obsessed with fame and the famous as he is. His tone becomes more serious. You can write a book about me when I'm dead. Not me realising, reading this, that I'm way mature at my age than Russell Brand ever was, and I'm still younger than he is in this moment here. Also, it's not like he's interested in reading so much as he is trying to wedge his ego into the pages of a much more interesting and talented artist. Dina could easily write an entire book on their sex life alone, and she could also document all of the inappropriate things he has said about other people. Go on, do it. Dare you. They have a bath together at some point. You know. And I did think, well, I hope he doesn't piss in the bath. Dina lowers her vision to the water, where Randall is lifting the tip of his penis above the surface. He urinates into the bubbles. This is maybe disrespectful or perhaps deviant, but not sexual in purpose or effect. What is the upper limit to her tolerance for this? Because there's piss in the sink next to the fruit bowl, the fresh fruit bowl. There's a bottle of wee in the bedroom / kitchen, again next to the fruit bowl. And now he's done it in the bath while she's in it. At what point do you say, I'd prefer it if you didn't, mate? You will be a great mum. The things I like about you are the things I dislike too. Beautiful, funny and intelligent. I'm sorry, I go a bit mad sometimes. Since you have read that silly book, you've been different. I don't mind that we are codependent. You looked after me so well in Hawaii. Dina likes yoga. However, she does not have much time away from her boyfriend's demands and needs the 1 hour of privacy to shower alone or go for a walk. Even if it means going to the local Starbucks to buy a large chai tea latte for Randall, so long as she returns before he has finished his yoga session. Then she can avoid having to explain her absence and the persistent questioning, where's my girlfriend? Where have you been? You better not have met with your ex-husband or that other ex of yours. What an exhausting knobhead. I bet she showers alone, so there's no piss in there. Sorry. Post Hawaii, they haven't seen each other for a week, which is unheard of in their codependent relationship. She has to remember that her time in Hawaii with Randall had been so intense that she had to have good reason to back away, making it clear that she would not be moving in with him on their return. She needs to remember this today to remain resolute because she feels abandoned despite this being her decision. A decision based on fear and refusal to continue being an appendage to his fast-paced lifestyle, on the inconsistency of his desire for support and her willingness to give it. A decision based on his random moods, making her subject to his insecure comments that question her place in his life, the regular choice of phrase being, "You are only with me for my fame." Dina has been offended by this comment, but because of its inaccuracy and overuse, she finds it amusing. Mostly. It is clear to her that he is the one who is obsessed with fame, but she knows that she is not, and deep down she is sure he knows this too. His comments simply highlight to her his own insecurities. He has called her a parasite, but then his fears have also led him to use this same description alongside other choice phrases to refer to several people in his life, albeit only for a reactionary moment of fear and insecurity, just childish spats with little depth towards people that support him. These fleeting irrationalities Dina has helped him smooth over before they could cause external damage. She has refused to contact Randall because he had treated her with such disregard when they came back in London from Hawaii, almost as if the moment that his big black boots had touched British soil, a cloak had magically draped over his shoulders, a cloak of the sex addict, the funny man, the bachelor, the cloak of notoriety. Almost as if this very moment meant that he had needed to live up to all that he had tried to maintain while absent from his country, the place that had initially fed his fame. Inside Liberty's, this place in Central, Dina is an uninterested window shopper as Randall chooses a designer shoulder bag, black, a few £100s, almost as much as Dina's monthly rent. Them were the days. Imagine monthly rent in London only being a couple £100. Like £300. Imagine that. She watches, feeling that he is buying a bit of contentment rather than just the bag. "Do you have cash on you?" he asks, "so that we can get a cab?" "No, I don't, but I have a travel card, so I don't need a cab," she replies, looking at the cobbled stretch. The smooth surfaces and muted colours make her feel content. As she steps on each pebble, she is accepted by her birthplace, London. The city gives her a warm embrace. "I can't get on the tube," he spits, looking at her with an expression of incredulity, and continues with an even sharper edge to his voice. "Why don't you ever carry cash?" Dina no longer feels warm. She understands that he cannot travel publicly. However, she used her debit card to make payments, and while she has bailed him out before, like the time he lost his wallet, she is not rolling in money and feels it is not her responsibility to carry cash for him. She has a re-glimpse of the harsh side to the man she cares for. She feels victim to his bullying. She remembers how he is self-driven and fame-hungry. She is just a young woman trying to rebuild her life and knows that Randall is charging forward, but she would prefer to be left behind, or at least make a sharp exit in another, somewhat calmer, kinder direction. "Keanu Reeves travels on the tube, Russell. I think you'd be fine." Not about him being too famous, actually. It's because he would try to sleep with the mouth of the tunnel. Dina knows that Randall thinks she is special. She believes the same of him. What they both believe love to be is perhaps non-conventional. However, with this definition as a gauge, Dina knows that Randall loves her, and her love for him has been accepting of his past and present behaviours, and of his unsavoury activities. They have a lot of fun together, but reality has kicked in like a nasty hangover, and Dina knows that she cannot be a part of Randall's erratic rollercoaster of a life. She will never be able to compete with that four-letter F word that has become his oxygen. Fame. She knows he needs it. She knows he knows it. And without it, he might possibly wither away. Randall admits to having had many meaningless escapades since returning from Hawaii. He also tells Dina that he has even gone on a couple of dates, saying, "But we suit. None of the other girls look good with me. They don't understand me and know me like you do. They were separated for a week. Apart from the anosmia from all the atmospheric ammonia and all the cabs she can afford." 2007, Hawaii. Russell calls himself Charlie when he's being naughty, and Mouse, like mouse with an A, Mouse, when he's being vulnerable like a needy mouse. He would be exhausting to be around, and now he has kids. Do you think he competes against his children for attention? I do. I don't even think. I know it. Touch wood, allegedly. Sue me. He hasn't changed. He has just adapted his persona. He did the Hollywood thing and had a pop star wife to go along that lifestyle. Then he did the revolutionary thing and had a anti-establishment girlfriend, Jemima Khan, which, yeah, right. And now he's doing the I'm a wise family man guru thing, and he has a hippie wife who really, he first dated when she was 19 and he was 30, and he kept her on the back burner for a decade. Stand up, Laura. Also, he might have... Who cares? Also, allegedly, he might have shagged his wife's sister at one point. What a sad little life these people lead. I can imagine Russell lighting a cigarette indoors and trying to skateboard through a glass window just to steal the attention back from his own child who was praised at parents' evening. How she sees it is that his life has developed into a story that has happened to somebody else, a string of carefully chosen experiences that form the basis of his media persona. He can be viewed as the person people love and admire, the person that does not shrink inside himself or inside the character he plays, and he has done this exceptionally well. He is a master of disguise and yet an open book. Randall is a child and yet he is a strong alpha male. Lol. He is a Shakespearean character from a tragic comedy, deserving oxymoronic description, traditionally modern, seriously funny, an exposing enigma, quirkily handsome, kindly cruel, sorrowfully jovial. That was on the very next page, proving my previous point, by the way. Dina has suggested for him to change his image when he returns home and perhaps to calm his hair down, not so much of a costume, but more relaxed, sleek clothes. She believes that people may take him more seriously as an actor and not just see him as a character, or as somebody who makes fun of himself or talks about his sexual conquests, as well as having others talk about them too. Dina has also said that he could rethink the disparaging way in which he interacts with certain caliber of girl or, quotation, sexual object, as Randall often refers to such females. That he ought to be less accessible, more selective. He has not taken too kindly to her comments. She observes him now as he slides on rings after clasping his bracelets closed, and then he buckles his belt before exhaling a huge sigh of more than relief, one of comfort. His energy loses fear. It is as though he has a piece of home. He is home. I feel famous again, he exclaims with seriousness. That's just how I feel after donning my 10 rings and 8 bracelets. My one bat necklace. Back in Hawaii, Dina bumps into, I'm pretty sure, Edward Norton and chats with him, unaware of his fame, just knowing him as an actor, and Russell gets jealous. It is too familiar that you are calling him Ed, he continues. Sorry, I didn't realise. Dina is beginning to feel awkward and unhappy. She really has no idea why Randall is acting this way. Why do you lack so much self-awareness? She feels he is goading her with his comments. What are you talking about? She questions, genuinely having no idea where the conversation is heading. You pretend you don't know any of the famous people here, and then you are talking to them just because of who they are, he says, as if speaking fact, almost like he has caught her out. I've never heard of most of them before, and of course I'm going to talk to them, she defends herself. Randall has accused Dina of only speaking to the people on set because of their status, yet when she is being friendly with these same people, he compliments her and tells her that she is kind or cool, further adding to her confused and contrary life with the man. Dina is aware of Russell's obsession with fame and now assumes that this is the foundation for his accusations. He's always setting her traps so he can have a go at her. I think narcissists do that, don't they? Still in Hawaii, but away from the bungalow now. Dina, Randall and Carla are walking, Carla is his assistant, are walking by a row of Winnebagos. Winnebagos. Randall is complaining because he has the least modern and least luxurious dressing room. I might not be the famous person here, but I am back home, he says. Dina is accustomed to his rants, and Carla is silent. An adult male, did not just whine that he's the most famousest where he comes from. They then bump into Mila Kunis and Macaulay Culkin, and it's funny because Russell, when I was a teenager, had a whole stand-up set post Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and I used to watch it a lot on repeat. And he said that he tried to get Mila Kunis's number, not once saying that he had brought a girlfriend with him in Hawaii for the shoot to live with him. And there was a story in the stand-up set about Woody Harrelson, and again, Russell made it sound like he was completely alone in his trailer, and Woody Harrelson comes in and starts talking to him, but he wasn't. He was with Dina the entire time, and she recounts the same Woody Harrelson story in the book, where he plays a game, gets it right the first time, runs outside, starts climbing a tree. So he is very aware of the image that he wants to put out, Russell that is, not Woody. Single, so he can shag women and not look like the bad guy. One time, on his radio show, Matt Morgan, his co-host, made him admit that he had a girlfriend, and Russell was really annoyed by it, being like, don't tell the audience I'm single. No, I'm not single. It's fine, ladies. And Matt was like, you're not the Beatles. Calm down. Forward in time to late June 2007, back to Hampstead, London. Dina, and you might be thinking, why is this relevant? And it's like, well, look, this guy is very calculated by what he puts out to try and get what he wants. Why are people assuming that because if anything, he's changed, I guess, kind of for the worse with the hole he's gone down in the past few years, right? So I don't see, just because he's always been open about his drug addiction and sex problems. Always. So I don't see why people, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It all helps, all of this helps to build an image of this man, and I just don't get why, some of these schmucks are still following him. I was literally basically one of his ride or diers since the age of 13, 14. If I can change, you can change, and everyone can change. Like, why can't you see he's so calculating, because he's always been this way. And there's some more stuff, and we'll get to it, don't worry. But I'm shadowboxing. I'm not shadowboxing. I'm boxing Russell Brand. Me and Russell Brand, YouTube boxing match. 2025. Let's do it, Russell. Forward in time to late June 2007, back to Hampstead, London. Dina feels the cold air creep over her bare shoulders. She is no longer relaxed, no longer resting in Russell's arms. It is around 1 o'clock in the morning. She looks up. The tall street lights create amber glows of the lilac sky. I keep thinking about him weird in the bath, I'm sorry. She stands at the base of the steep steps that climb to the grand front door. Number 1. Dina arrives at Randall's home after he has texted her, "Save me." Grown adult man, by the way. And so she is here to do exactly that. She wishes that she could decline him, but finds it difficult when he acts so needy. I can't believe I ever thought he was cool. Dina and Randall are no longer officially boyfriend and girlfriend, but it's obvious that they are still drawn together. She does not know why he needs saving, but she knows him well. And it is likely that he has had sex with a stranger or an insignificant other, and consequently feels sick or guilty or vulnerable, and he may feel simply lonely after the hustle and bustle of his day has finally died down. They have a bath together. Hopefully he doesn't piss in this one too. And then he admits he's seeing someone else. "She is pretty and nice, but she isn't you," he says. "So you should be with her then. I'm sure she is very nice. You shouldn't have texted me." As she says these words, she knows that it is her that should not have texted him back, to the point where she is now here, feeling this way, foolish, annoyed, upset. Randall continues to smile with what seems like slight sadistic pleasure at her upset and bitter words. Lovely. Dina is sure that Randall would never take narcotics again because he has told her that it would put an instant halt to his progress of his career, and she knows that fame is more important to him than a transitory high. It is even more important to him than a sexual escapade, which he so tries to keep at bay here in Hawaii. That first bit is so me. For his birthday, Dina knows that he misses reading tabloids about himself as they are in Hawaii, so she makes a newspaper all about him by hand. Quite a nice gift, actually. "I know you're a twit, but why have you written this bit? I was with my girlfriend at the time. We both saw the same shooting star, so we made a wish. Why did you write my girlfriend at the time?" Randall looks at her, obviously waiting for her explanation. She shrugs her shoulders, laughs his comments aside with a flippant response. "I don't know. It means that I was with you at the time it happened." Randall tells her that he is offended because she is dismissing their relationship. Dina isn't sure why it reads this way. They have had conversations recently about breaking up, initiated by her. And Randall has made a point of telling her that he should be dating somebody famous anyway, and reels off a few names of an internal list of female celebrities who have recently expressed interest. That is both charming and grateful. 2007, pre-Hawaii. Dina likes being with Randall as his right-hand girl and is riding a vigorous wave of their young but fast-moving relationship. She is in Randall's flat, which has been her home too since February, when Randall had asked her to stay. He had sent her to her apartment to collect some belongings and had told her, "You may as well live with me now." Even though she is staying here, it is Randall's flat with his rules. "A girl is coming over with her girlfriend," he informs. He further explains that the girls are fans that have contacted him during Dina's short time in the shower. So Dina wants to leave whilst he stays at home and shags this couple, but can't find her phone. Russell wants her to stay in the flat and join in with them. She does not know the reasons why he would like her to stay in the flat. Perhaps it's through fear or control, or a symbol of a woman walking out on him, abandoning him. Or maybe he thinks she will change her mind and joining after all. Or it could be that he does not trust her, possibly thinking that she will arrange a rendezvous with another man. Dina feels like a butterfly with clipped wings, restricted, forlorn. "I want to go out for a walk," she insists. Lump in her throat, eyes welling. She remembers that her phone is on the other end of the flat, in their bedroom, but Randall is standing in front of her, blocking her way forward. This is easy for him. The room is narrow and cluttered, and he is tall and broader than Dina. That is straight out of the Coho playbook, that one. Russell then locks her in a room whilst he goes off for his threesome. And then he comes back like 20 minutes later. Lol. "It was boring, actually," he states. "You know I said they were girlfriends. Well, I thought it'd be good because they know what they're doing, but it was boring." Dina imagines that they were too interested in each other for Randall to feel important. Dina does a bit of writing by herself before Russell rudely interrupts her. "Let me read it," he persists, not unfriendly, but not friendly either. No, I'm really shy about people reading the things I write. Dina is scared of being judged by him. He judges so well. What's the point in writing it? He questions, then declares, I can help you. Ah, thanks, but I want to make it on my own merit, she says. Dina assumes Randall is offering to introduce her to some people, maybe support her on her quest. She doesn't really know what he means, actually. I didn't mean like that, he says, and straightens his back like a proud peacock. With a serious and pompous attitude, he continues, I've just got a big book deal. I think I can tell you a bit about writing. Dina declares silently, shall I go through the book he works and make fun of them? I think I should. Dina declines silently and is reminded of his reaction after he had viewed her presenting showreel. He had said she was good but not unique, and now she is starting to get the impression that despite her having worked as a model, actress and presenter and within the television industry since before they had met in 2001, that he would rather she did a conventional job. She is gradually losing her confidence in her work, in herself, and now in her ability to write well. He likes to neg women so they never rise above his level. He did the same to Katy Perry. I've been with some blokes who are like that. It is exhausting and it chips away at your confidence. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Russell is dictaphoning his autobiography with Dina helping him. Dina is interested, but she is so tired. She reaches behind her to grab a bottle of water, hoping a drink may revive her a little. What are you doing? She hears Randall hiss. She guesses he is aggravated by the distraction. Sorry, I'm just getting some water. She is sure he can see what she is doing, but explains it anyway. He always snaps at her if she interrupts with a movement. He has made it clear that her job is to sit still next to him, holding the recorder and pressing the command buttons. Stop causing distractions, Randall spits. Why aren't you looking at me? I'm not laughing because of that. We'll get there. She hears Randall snap again, snapping her out of her trance, and so she turns her attentions back to her vexed boyfriend. You know I lose my concentration if you don't look at me. I need to know you are listening, he continues, excusing his behaviour, and she is reminded that she should know better. Embarrassingly, that's probably why I liked him for so long, he does remind me a little bit of myself, but to a lesser degree. I'm like that. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. We've both got ADHD. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But every hour with him does sound quite insufferable. So reading some of this and recognising some of his behaviours as my own, I'm going to do better. She remains still for maximum productivity, although this can be challenging for her when Russell fidgets like a child in detention. He indulges in his regular pastimes. He plays with body parts, me saying all this whilst fidgeting like crazy. He picks his nose. He pulls the blisters and hard skin from his feet. He farts. What a disgusting, horrible cretin. Do you love me? Randall asks softly with schoolboy silliness. Yes, Dina answers for a gentle laugh as if to say, you know I do. Do you? Randall persists playfully. Dina rolls her eyes. Do you? He repeats. Yes, she answers, aspirated but not agitated. Randall knows the answer is yes, however he likes to hear it more than anybody Dina has ever met, and she is accustomed to this very same conversation as if they are rehearsing a scene in a play that of course Randall has written and in which he plays the lead role. That final paragraph is so me. Dina is sitting on the edge of the bed in the bungalow, ears pricked. Maybe Russell always knew that. Maybe he knew I was just a much, much better version of him. I'll never be as successful though, because I'm not a horrible man. Ears pricked because Randall was talking about a British iconic supermodel with whom he had indulged a previous dalliance. You remind me a bit of her actually, he comments. Do I? Dina's intrigued by this comparison. Yeah, you are both beautiful, but a bit scruffy. Thanks, she laughs, and then agrees. I guess I am quite scruffy. There is a moment of silence. Dina breaks it. When I saw you on the front of the paper with her, I thought, good on you for landing yourself one of the most beautiful women in the world. Okay, pick me. During this time, Dina had been married and had relished in some internal amusement that she had refused a kiss on numerous occasions from the Lothario that had won himself a supermodel. This is clearly about Kate Moss, FYI. Randall continues to tell Dina how he had first met the fashion icon and how he had felt a little sorry for the model's daughter because her mum is so famous, and that on one occasion he had been sitting with the child, playing games and chatting with her, surrounded by the hustle of her mother's life. He had expressed his sadness to Dina because the girl is a part of a world that sees her mum travelling around, and this is a normality for her. Dina cannot help but to think this is what Randall's future child would be dealing with too, and that many children born into fame or wealth have to deal with this by default of their parents' fame and lifestyles. Cry me a river. They get to... As long as the household isn't abusive, like cry me a river. That, oh no, they have to deal with the trappings of fame. I'll save my sympathies for those who deserve it. But also, this was completely wrong because Russell's wife looks after the kids whilst Russell locks himself away and argues with people about Christian family values on Rumble. Then again, at least Russell can protect his children from dangers like 4, 5 or even 6G and wokeness with those magical bracelets he hawks like a verbose street vendor who failed theatre school. He has started to talk to Dina about... He has started to talk to Dina about a 10-year-old girl that had been on film set today. She really is beautiful. If we had a daughter, she would look like her, he says with fondness in his voice. Really? Yeah, she has skin like you. Randall explains his slight discomfort of how the child is very familiar and sits on his lap, acting as though she knows him and that he feels she is flirtatious for such a young girl. No, but this man could never be a threat to women, surely. This man who's saying this really reasonable, normal stuff about a child could never be a threat to women. Dina wonders for a moment how Randall would be as a father. If he had a son, would he be jealous? If he had a daughter, how could he respect her? When in Dina's opinion, he shows little respect for many of the women he encounters. Then again, if you know that he shows women disrespect, why are you hanging out with him, Dina? Please answer me that, Dina. Are other men not as interesting because they don't spontaneously piss everywhere like an incontinent cat? I want a baby of you, Randall pauses. Dina has heard him say this before on numerous occasions. Because I know that we can always be cool with each other, even if we don't work out. I know you'll be a great mum and let me be in our child's life. Dina just listens. She knows that he is being sincere. He goes on, besides, you got such good genes. They've been having unprotected sex for a while. Every so often, Randall, with his comments with venom in his tone, he must be oblivious to how hurtful his words are. I don't think he is. I think he knows perfectly well how hurtful he is. Why aren't you pregnant yet? Or, you can't have children. On these occasions, Dina falls silent. However, the more she hears this, the more she begins to believe she is unable to have children. This has upset her the most after being uncharacteristically late getting her menstrual cycle. She had put on a little weight and her breasts had been fuller than usual. Randall had been benevolent towards her when she had been upset. However, his previous words kept ringing in her ears. I don't think you can have children. Dina had heard these same words on a particular occasion in what felt like the cruelest of ways. She could feel his neck close to hers, his weight bearing down on her back, flesh on flesh, a slight pulling from the fistful of her hair in his hands, and then he had gently moved her head to the side and in her sensitive ear had heard his insensitive whispers, I don't think you can have children. Dina had felt internally crushed, hollow, worthless, unlike a real woman. Again, this is completely normal behaviour from a bloke. To be fair though, it is likely her eggs are just physically retreating from his sperm. So pregnancy would be unlikely. Good on those eggs though. She is back in London, back in time to late February, still 2007. Dina is walking to the chemist. She feels confused but is adhering to her boyfriend's flippantly delivered request. You better take the morning after pill today. Last night, Randall had said to Dina that he wanted to have a baby with her, and after they had discussed the subject of cleanliness and sexually transmitted infections, they had unprotected sex for the first time. Dina had understood it to be a very, very calculated and mutual action between two adults with feelings towards each other, and this morning Randall has changed his mind. Dina realises that she has been foolish, gullible, immature. She's let her guard down, left herself vulnerable. She would have used protection if she had known that Randall had seen this as a form of contraception. What a nice guy. Back in Hawaii, on set, Dina tries to make friends with girls on the island so she has her own life separate to Russell. One of the girls that Dina is meeting is a young recent divorcee, and when Randall had heard this, he had asked Dina to try and groom her for a threesome because she is at a desperate and vulnerable, his quotations, point in her life, and so the girl is likely to agree. Dina does not agree. It momentarily makes her think that she too is a recent divorcee, a failure, that she had been in a vulnerable state from the start of her relationship with Randall, and her confidence had gradually been withering, assisted by the double bind of his kind words and cruel ways, or harsh words and soft embraces. And please remember that this book was written 10 whole years ago. I know we're meant to be focusing mainly on his behaviour, but it is very hard to ignore her choosing to look past his desire to capitalise on someone else's vulnerability. Bit of a pick-me moment, innit? 2008, Dina has a new boyfriend and has a phone call with Russell when he rings her. Why are you sleeping this early? He asks with disapproval in his tone. I'm not feeling too good. Why? What's wrong? He genuinely sounds concerned. I'm having a baby. She hears splashing but no instant reply. It is evident that Russell is having a pissy bath. A moment or two passes before he gains his composure after a second of what must be shock. Whose is it? Randall finally responds, perhaps unsure whether or not he is going to be a father. My boyfriend's, Dina answers, thinking his question is absurd. What do you mean, your boyfriend's? Randall has openly admitted to Dina that he does not like it when his ex-girlfriends move on, and she has very much moved on. He continues, that was quick. Dina hesitates, and Randall continues before she can speak. Who is he? I first met him when I was 15 and we met up recently, and he interrupts. What does he do? He clearly has no interest in the romance, and he investigates to perhaps find out whether or not her new love is famous. He is not. What does that matter? A normal job, she confirms. Well, it won't last. Sorry, he's so evil. Why am I laughing? He's such a douche. He spits with the venom she has heard in his voice so many times. You don't like it when your exes move on. I don't like people leaving bottles of piss in my flat. We give way where we can. In 2007, on the set of St. Trinian's, Dina is sure that Randall's thoughts are caressed away from his scripted lines each time one of the naughty schoolgirls throws a glance his way or moves slightly seductively in their alluring uniforms. Lucky for him, most of these actresses are of an adult age playing younger roles, and despite the overload of visual stimuli, he manages to impress everybody upon set with his wit, improvisation, and professionalism. Yeah, very professional to be gawking at girls dressed underage. Also, though, if he had tried anything, Sarah Harding would have knocked him out. May she rest in peace. I told her that I have an addictive personality and that I am obsessed with the girl I am with. Dina absorbs his comments but does not say anything. That's you! The way he talks is insane. She smiles internally, but as always, she is confused by his words and conflicting actions, as he had told her earlier that day that he had accepted a telephone number from one of the model actresses. He is such a hypocrite, and he always has been. I don't know why his cult assumes anything's changed just because he's managed to convince somebody to have his kids. I think you could make him physically explode from insecurity if you refuse to let him leave his flat whilst his wife slept with 2 guys without him. I reckon that would actually kill him. The evening of March the 28th, 2007, London. Randall has co-hosted an event at the Albert Hall. He has been a little nervous prior to the gig, as expected, discussing this with Dina, mostly fearing being upstaged by his co-host. So then Russell deliberately takes Dina to the after party, which he dislikes going to, just so the paparazzi take pictures of her, and then spends 5 minutes at the party and leaves. Dina realises it's so the press can report the next day on him being spotted with a mysterious brunette and completely upstages his co-host at the event. Randall, and if you Google Russell Brand mysterious brunette, it comes up. Randall, who says with a relieved sense of achievement, I'll be on the front of the papers now. She realises he has used their intriguing relationship to obtain guaranteed attention and to snatch any potential press away from another loved comedian. Dina is sure all would agree that Randall had been hugely entertaining, and it is likely he would have had column inches written about his performance, but he has now gazumped his own press with a relationship publicity stunt. Dina knows that a lot of celebs do the same. Turn up at his party, show off their beautifully groomed self and designer outfit, and then leave with a satisfied smile that they have been caught on several cameras. But you can see how calculated he is, yeah? But please keep telling me how his rebrand is legitimate. If I didn't have to make clickbait titles, an almost clever one would be re:"brand. But alas, I'm going to have to clickbait the shit out of this instead. How annoying. I'll see, actually. I'll have a word of myself and I'll see. And you know that, because this came out so long ago, if anything, he's become more calculated and more media trained and PR trained over the years. Dina can see Randall sitting on the toilet of the small ensuite through the open door. He has a newspaper in his hand and has been correct about gracing the front pages of the London papers. What did you think when you saw it? He questions with acuteness. Dina is used to seeing her photo in print, and so her first superficial reaction had been one of relief that the camera had caught an unflattering angle. Other than this, she sees it as a picture of her and her boyfriend. She shrugs her shoulders and answers as she makes her way back into the bedroom. Nothing really. I'm happy I look pretty, I suppose. He must have finished his task as Dina hears the flush of the toilet chain. She turns around to see him next to her, the paper still in his hand. I think that is a bit odd, he said. I can imagine him saying this. He states before continuing that you find it normal that you are on the front cover of a paper. I can hear him saying it. He says with an accusatory tone. And then he weaponizes this whole thing that he concocted himself to make sure he was in the papers on the front page. He weaponizes the whole thing to just have a go at her instead. I have been with men like that who will just concoct these plans to weaponize and then just have a go at you purely to bring you down a few pegs when you're not even doing anything wrong. You're just existing. Like me a decade ago was a lot less this. I was just existing, and I'd have men who would neg and try and like knock you down to make sure that you never, I don't know, reach any sort of potential, and it's fucking exhausting. After Hawaii, Dina goes to pick up stuff from his. She is alone in his bedroom, relieved to not be seeing him. He is busy, and Penn, the housekeeper, let her in 5 minutes ago so she can retrieve some of her clothes, which has been transported in the move. Her eyes flit to an unmade bed. A girl's bracelet and hairband lost their owner last night. Dina is not hurt necessarily about this, as she knows that Randall had needed to keep his ego in bed warm for the first lonely night in his new home, and she knows whom it had been with too, because he had openly told her before they had left Hawaii. I don't think being quite chaotic with Noel Fielding on Biff Fat Quiz of the Year and being pretty funny in Forgetting Sarah Marshall warrants this amount of care from anyone after behaving like such a baby. Back in Hawaii, I know, the book is a bit annoying, I know. Should be, he repeats her words with incredulity. She looks at him wide-eyed and confirms with a small head nod. Yeah. Still clearly jarred by her use of words, he asks, why are you saying should be? It is fine, she says, but feels like she needs to explain further. But obviously I can't say for definite because it's out of my hands now. What's this about? Who knows? Dina is feeling uneasy, let's just keep going and hope it makes sense, and wonders why Randall was cross. Each time he repeats the word should, it sounds harsher, almost like it is no longer a word, but a heavy object that he is slamming on the floor in front of her. He continues to rant at her. With her peripheral vision, she sees Randall grab her laptop from the bottom of the bed. She looks up, not at his face, but at his hands. His knuckles are white from his tight grip. Look at me, you, see you next Tuesday. He bellows and raises the laptop high. She thinks he will fret at her. She flinches and begins to quietly cry. He lowers the laptop and slides it back on the bed before walking out the room. Dina looks down. She is sad. She blames herself, but she is not sure what for. Jesus H. Christ. Despite his behaviours, he wants her to move in with him when they leave Hawaii, but she doesn't want to because he is clinically insane. I have planned to meet that page 3 girl on the night we get back, he tells her, and then asks, can you be around too? Dina is not surprised and knows it is the young blonde who has been texting him since the start of their stay. She also knows that he separates sex from love, something that she has been able to do. She is disappointed for him as she has learned that he does not feel good after he has frivolous sex, despite what the media stories report. Maybe this is why he wants her to partake, because she is his perfect female counterpart physically, and because she minimises his admin practically. And mainly because she eliminates the emotional aftermath. If he does feel sad, lonely or guilty, then she can be there to comfort him afterwards. Nah, what a mess. I don't care how you try to intellectualize this. It is so clearly destructive behavior, self-destructive for both of them really. And if he truly did separate love from sex, he wouldn't be so worried about Dina meeting up with other men when he like goes to the toilet or whatever. It's so sad we never get to see his response to one of his partners having much better casual sex with a parade of men instead of him. Dina doesn't want to play ball anymore, but doesn't expect him to change, so will leave the relationship instead. You need to start thinking about your reputation. You can't just keep sleeping with random girls. It's going to hinder your career, she says with a gentle tone. Randall had been addicted to drugs, alcohol, food, and now he has sex and fame fighting against each other. Dina knows that fame will win hands down. However, she is concerned that his sexual addiction will cause problems when provide him with the wrong sort of fame. Well, that aged well. I mean, I'm still convinced he's being naughty. Not in the illegal way. But in fact, I remember when I was talking to people at Channel 4 years ago, being like, I like Russell Brand. And they were like, no, you shouldn't, because he's going to end up in trouble one day. He's going to get me too. That's the words, not mine. They said something about, can I say this? I don't give a shit. Allegedly. They told me, this is hearsay. For legal reasons, this is hearsay. They told me that he was in like a car park and he was trying to get girls to go into his car. And they were like, no, he's a dirty old man. He was trying to do this. And I was like, but he's married. He wouldn't do that. And they were like, well, you didn't hear from me. This is hearsay. That's what I heard from people who worked at Channel 4. Anyway, mark my words. This is what I reckon is truly going to happen with his, Christian pivot. He will start a church for his cult. They've already been doing little cult activities under the guise of wellness weekends and yoga retreats and do some glamping in a teepee. He's going to start a church for his cult, and then he will use it, right? Because he'll be the Messiah prophet, yeah? Prophet in all the words, because he'll be leaking money out of these people too. And then he will shag all the female members whilst his wife nurses their children and watches in the corner. Dina wants to be a mother, and she knows that Randall wishes to be a father. And for this reason alone, she cannot move forward in this relationship. She is not prepared to be a woman who is stuck at home with a child whilst her famous husband rules the celebrity world and enjoys his sexual freedom. It is not the environment in which she wishes to raise a family. I would bet actual money, at least 10 quid, on this being Russell's situation now with his marriage. If I keep taking shots in this guy's marriage, am I going to get in trouble? I don't care. And I wasn't being flippant when I said if I was Jordan Peterson, I would be keeping darling daughter Michaela, far away from Russell as possible. There is no way he's not going to try it, or it don't matter. Don't matter if I think she's married. Don't matter. Doesn't matter to him. He don't give a fuck if someone's married or not. Anyway, Jordan Peterson, keep Russell Brand away from your daughter. I'm not joking. There's stuff about how rude Russell is to people who work for him, will leave meetings randomly to go do something else, etc. Dina is creative, and she is in a lost place with regard to her work and life in general. Her whole time is spent with Randall, and he has told her to remove her website due to press attention. She has also refused work so she can accompany him to his gigs. She would not see him otherwise, but now she doesn't see anybody else or do anything else unless it involves her boyfriend. He's also offered to pay for her to do any courses or to help her with her books, etc. But it's a form of control rather than an altruistic gesture, presumably so he can throw it back in her face whenever he fancies it. Peculiar then, isn't it, that Russell's now wife, Laura, the one who, he dated when she was 19, he will say, has some successful, yummy mummy type books since being with him, all stuff that he has helped her gain. Wonder if he ever throws it back in her face if she dares ask him to wash the dishes. There's also a naked picture of Russell's butt in this book. I'm not sure how that's allowed. Did he consent to this being shown? Bit of a weird choice. Anyway, at some awards show, Russell is nervous, so goes to the toilet and makes Dina go with him as he shits. In usual form, Randall acts like a silly but proud toddler, having finished his physical task, and shows off to his girlfriend as he moves to one side before flushing his achievement away. She squirms and grimaces. Gross. I'm sorry to bring this up, but it does sound like he's not doing any wiping. Because if he did, it would, the toilet paper would conceal his crap. Surely. So if that's the case, how are you with someone who isn't doing any wiping? Everyone else just assumes that they've shagged in the toilet rather than, her watch him shit. People perceive the things they want to perceive, and Randall has proved this to be a successful way to gain recognition. He lives up to the image that the media likes, because then the media keeps writing about him and speaking about him, and as a result the masses read and listen, and they assume based on all of this manufactured, carefully orchestrated information that they know who he is, what he does, the things he likes, and in this case... And this is the case when he had been photographed with Dina at the party he had attended for just a few minutes. The masses would assume he had been out enjoying the revelry with others, but it had all been an illusion, yet somehow still the truth, because he had been there and projected the image expected of him, and photographs never lie, apparently. It's almost profound how this still applies today with his carefully curated social media image. Russell tells the truth, unlike everyone else online, because he tells his audience that they can trust him, and therefore they do. She is in the bathroom preparing the individual supplements and vitamins that Randall washes down each morning with a Senecot sachet drink. His housekeeper would give him these normally, but Dina obliges when she is staying over at a gig or during their time in Hawaii. He is obviously fully capable of doing this for himself, but has become knitted into their routine. Randall had once been cross at Dina for forgetting to give him his morning cocktail. She had retorted with, "I'm not your employee." He clearly expects the love, duty and dedication of a wife from Dina, and she really does deliver, and yet he also wants more, while she has possibly made a rod for her own back by being so obliging. Whilst Dina has not been afraid to step up and speak out at points when she believes that Randall is taking advantage of her devotion, the longer she spends in the relationship, the harder this is for her to do. Is there anyone he actually has an equal relationship with? Dina follows Randall's call through the bathroom. His cat and his dog. That's they are the only people that he would actually do things for rather than get something from them. Kind of relatable. Bad me. Dina follows Randall's call through from the bathroom. He refuses to flush the train and walks away from a very messy bowl. He acts childlike and wants Dina to flush as he runs out of the room wearing just his underwear. "Thanks. When do you poo?" he shouts back to her, as he has asked her many times. I don't get that. She shakes her head, and having been in this situation before, she knows that he will not return to the toilet. She holds her breath deep and closes her eyes as she reaches into the cubicle opposite the bath and flushes the chain. Dina is private about personal hygiene and habits, and she cannot understand why her boyfriend has such a fixation with his bowels and his excrement. Here's his anus when it comes to sex, and there is his obsession with his hemorrhoid too. She has mentioned this to him, and while she is no therapist or psychiatrist, she is sure that there is some Freudian-related analogy assigned to such behaviour. But then again, this is Randall. This is the Randall that she is accustomed to. The man who acts childlike and childish, yet somehow seems to be, at the same time, carrying the burden of several long lifetimes. Apparently, this is hearsay for legal reasons, The Rock gets his assistants to flush his shit too. So it must be some type of power play to these people. And again, I asked, is someone like Russell with these horrible habits post-druggy era actually capable of changing? Because again, the more famous he's become, yeah, he's had more and more backlash, but the more he has been catered to constantly, whether it's assistants or girlfriends or people within the media, people around him, yes men, you would become just naturally more and more entitled as you went along. On tour and being in his car. On a few occasions they have shared sexual encounters, not occasions that she has enjoyed, as she feels awkward with people driving in the car, and even though Graham and Travis have joked and teased Dina about her and Russell's antics, they have not been frequent, sexy or loving, just deviant and controlling. A fan or two, and their promise of a sexual exchange, have no doubt swayed Russell, his favourite being self-pleasure over large breasts, often of seemingly unattractive women, it's a bit mean, and sometimes with younger women, but always willing, adoring parties. These encounters, however, can end in a few harsh words, with females leaving his dressing room confused at the glimpse of the real Randall, not the famous jovial chap they are used to seeing on the stage or hearing on the radio. There have actually been a number of occasions where things have not gone according to plan, and the lady or ladies in question have fled the scene. There's a bit of an interesting turn of events here, going from willing, adoring parties to ladies fleeing the scene. Willing before they see the real him, like a tawdry disappointment. Dina thinks that Randall can come across strange when he is pent up from a gig, needing to release, placing his energies into a sexual act where he feels physical relief. Yet Dina can see that remorse and depression are always more than likely to creep in afterwards. Beforehand, he carries a sense of entitlement from the rush of fame adrenaline. Or maybe because he knows it will bring him down in mood and he is familiar with this calm yet sad feeling. He carries an agitation, a scratch, which obvious to Dina needs to be itched, and it is conveyed as arrogance and urgency. This messiah complex, which has surely also been witnessed by family, friends and colleagues, and sometimes by the ladies who are the objects of his physical attention, disappears once Randall fulfills his primitive needs. Dina waits for him now in the back of the car. She recalls a time when a scrawny middle-aged woman had obviously declined an offer from Russell after a gig and had left his changing room in a hurry wearing an annoyed expression. She had rushed by Dina and the security guards towards the external door of the building, and with his one-track mind written all over his face, Randall had stormed through the exit too and had begun a wide stride march around to the busy front of the arena. Not after the same lady, but he had still wanted a throwaway encounter with a stranger or a fan, maybe in order to validate his fame or to eradicate his agitation. Randall had looked enraged, like a starving animal on the prowl, a little intimidating. Dina knows how to deal with most sides of his character, and with some soft encouragement, she had brought him back to the dressing room, though she had sensed his reluctance, and then sensed more of his agitation when he had climbed onto the back seat of the patiently waiting car. Dina knows that many people have indulged in sex with strangers. To judge this is not entirely necessary. To question reasons for doing this and motives behind this behaviour perhaps sheds light on a mind state, especially if it is regular with consequence and used as a method of self-deprecation. Randall had lost his virginity to a stranger when he was just a teen, and Dina thinks that perhaps this behaviour has simply been the norm for him since then. Few things. The commas are like tripping me up. They're kind of terrible. Secondly, he carries an agitation, a scratch that needs to be itched. You don't itch a scratch, you scratch an itch. And finally, this prowling behaviour of Russell's is not surprising. Everybody knows that biologically, women are herd animals, like many herbivores, whilst Russell is a predator. Dina wonders for a moment what mood he'll be in when he returns to the car this evening. Her mind is now distracted with another similar occasion when she had calmed the situation, which involved a lady who had visited Randall and turned up to see a younger, sexier, more attractive Dina in the bedroom. Embarrassing. The paunchy lady, no need for that, had not been happy. Russell's scarlet energy had climbed out of his body and raised up into a huge ego of expectation, refusing to call the lady a cab home because she did not want to continue with her reason for being at the flat so late that evening. Dina, once again, in order to preserve his reputation, had diffused the situation, had called a cab for the woman who had actually ended up staying for a short while. Russell Brand supporters will see nothing technically wrong with any of this behaviour, but it screams predatory, especially Dina's choice of words in order to preserve his reputation. Hiding in plain sight comes to mind. Also, Dina, other women aren't the enemy. You don't need to call yourself sexier. Like, chill out, babe. Dina is at another show of Russell's. The gaggle of girls is shouting something, and Dina cannot decipher the utterances at first. Now it becomes clear. She's only 15, the girls repeat adamantly. A young girl with dark skin and Bambi eyes stands in front of Randall, displaying her squished chest in a low-cut top. Randall's gaze is on the chubby teen, Dina, stop being a pick-me, and her exposed breasts. His eyes are different, in a trance. Dina knows this expression, frantic, not quite human, fixed on one thing with his mind focused in the wrong direction, an object. The voices still shout out, and yet he does not flinch. It is as if he does not believe what he hears, or maybe he actually does not hear them at all. Or he hears and doesn't care, Dina. Dina ushers herself slightly between Randall and the girl, and she looks him into his eyes intently in a bid to refocus his attention. She knows he has no reason to continue when he listens to the facts. After all, he has plenty of offers from other ladies. Randall, she's just 15, Dina says calmly, but firmly too. Dina throws him a laser look of authority. She is protecting him. Should be protecting the teen, but okay. Pick me. He visibly snaps out of his primitive urge, and the girl seems disappointed. She does look physically older, and she had told him she is older, but she is just a child. It's the way that this came out 10 years ago. The change in his eyes mirrors the statements some of the ladies made about Russell in the documentary when he allegedly raped them. Too many people are saying very similar things about him at different time frames, completely independent from one another. Either all of these women at different points over the past decade are coincidentally making the same lies about him, or, more logically, the opposite is true, and he's just a predator. Occam's razor, bitch. Dina is in Manchester. Her and Randall have spent a couple of days in Glasgow touring and have now travelled back towards the middle of the country to stay in one of Randall's favourite hotels, the Lowry. Yesterday, Randall had been notified via Carla that his usual room is not available due to an influx of bookings, including from some footballers. Randall is not at best pleased about this inconvenience. He admits he likes the consistency of staying in the same room. Dina now stands next to Carla, and opposite Randall in the lobby of the modern hotel, listening to him discuss the cost of the presidential suite. She touches Randall's arm and says quietly, "It's just 2 nights and we'll get back late, so I think just get another decent room," encouraging her boyfriend to avoid spending a 4-figure fee, as she feels he is doing so just to mark his status. He disregards Dina's advice and pays for the hotel suite. I checked, by the way, he's dumping $4,000 on 2 nights at a hotel because he's definitely one of the voices of the working class and not an elite himself. I'm going to get cheap hotel rooms from now on just so I don't risk booking a room in which Russell has done stuff in. There's a famous footballer staying in Russell's room. I don't know which footballer, I don't really care, and Russell gets jealous of this. I don't want to be with somebody who is starstruck over people. Oh, and then Dina and Carla see the footballer and like they just wave at him because he's really, really well known, like one of the most famous footballers in the world. I don't know who it is. I don't want to be with somebody who is starstruck over people. He must think you are some annoying fan, he says with obvious disgust. Dina screws up her face. She had thought Randall would find it amusing. I didn't say anything to him. I just raised my arm and kind of waved because he spoke to us. I was a bit taken aback by him. Dina pauses. She doesn't care if Randall is annoyed. He is the most famous man in the world, she adds. She realises quickly that this is not a good thing to say. Her inner monologue spews out words that turn Randall's ego from red to green. You may as well call Noel Gallagher and ask for his autograph too, he spits. What? Dina says emphatically. Dina thinks it to be absurd that Randall chooses one of his most famous friends to stamp down his point, and once again she feels deflated and disappointed that she has been hastily and inaccurately judged by her boyfriend. He is so small and exhausting. I was just Googling to find out Russell Brand's assistant during this time period and instead came across the LinkedIn of his current assistant. Is this crazy of me? Whatever. a pretty, young, as in pretty and young, blonde woman who worked at a bakery in his town. Okay, this is just common knowledge for any Russell fan. Until magically becoming his assistant in 2023. He obviously just went into said bakery and made her acquaintance for obvious reasons. Also, I found some articles about his assistant from 2006 saying Russell would walk around in his underwear and make her uncomfortable. Helen alleges she watched Brandon and a friend once looked through photos of women that the comedian had slept with. The same assistant says she never saw him assault anyone, but I know that he does assault Dina later on in this book, so, you know, he's obviously just not going to do it in front of you. Randall's PA is a curvy, pretty brunette with a unique sense of style, and she has a friendly smile. Although Dina notices that Carla is not smiling much right now, undoubtedly because Russell has dropped his bag in the middle of the street outside the doors of the train station, and has abandoned the petite lady because they have missed their scheduled train. Dina stands bemused as Randall blames Carla with loud, harsh words and then storms off by the front of Euston Square, throwing his half-folded newspaper behind him. The wind catches it and separates the pages, decorating the floor black and white. This is the first time that Dina has really witnessed any displays of his unconventional behaviour in a public place. It is more dramatic than when he has stomped away from her on Goode Street after recently accusing her of flirting. It is the stomping that she noticed now, those big black boots again, stomp, stomp, stomp. Part of his thick black cardigan falls off his left shoulder as he continues to stomp away. Anyway, Russell has a tantrum at the youthful age of 31. They board the train and Dina feels purposeful, and perhaps Randall feels protected, another stitch in their codependent security blanket. The train moves away from the station and the mood is calmer. Dina writes Randall a certificate like he is a primary school teacher and he is a naughty child, trying to come good with positive reinforcement. Again, this is a grown man being coddled. His frontal lobes are fully developed. Stop letting men get away with childish behaviour. Randall is a man of his circumstance, Dina thinks, and he is a man that suits power because of his nature to control, be it elements of himself or his life or other people. People clearly like Randall, and they listen to him too. This is apparent from his mass fan following alone, as well as his devoted entourage and work colleagues. Some, however, seem scared of his wrath, but still it is likely that he will collect enough power points to gain him even more of a mass following. This is something that the famous Randall probably needs. The problem with power is that it can often outweigh good karma, and Dina is not sure if Randall is strong enough to keep both in balance. How pertinent, but I'm not sure if someone with a tendency to control others is a sign that they should have more power. Pistachios finished, Randall takes a handful of cashew nuts. Dina watches as he chews with his mouth open, creating a nut cream. He always eats cashews like this, she thinks with an expression of slight repulsion. He is so grim, I actually hate myself ever supporting this man. What a busy day for Russell, making his nut cream with his mouth before shitting with the door open, getting someone to look at what he's done and to flush for him whilst he goes to fill up hallway bottles of piss. He'll be all tuckered out after his compulsory orgy. He'll barely have the energy to yell at his partner. It is late July or early August 2007. She can see herself through the screen sitting in a cafe opposite Central Park in New York for a close friend, and she reads Randall's reply to the message that she had written him after accepting a party invitation by the production team of the film shot in Hawaii. She had attended as she had been in Los Angeles at the time and thought it would be nice to see people she had shared time with, and because it had been something sociable and fun to do. It's inappropriate that you went. I shan't see you again. I'll ignore any further attempt to contact me. Bye. Judging by his email, Randall is clearly not happy. Dina has already known the night before she had left for America that it would be the last time she was going to see him. On that cold night in his freezing kitchen, when he had acted so needy towards her, telling her not to meet anyone else. But now this is Randall's goodbye, she thinks, because she is out of sight, out of mind. She is not surprised that he is the one wanting to have the final word. In his mind, he probably equates her attending a party with celebrities as her wanting to be famous. Hence, he had been right all along. And if this is his thinking, then he is incorrect. He is such a weirdo. God forbid anybody be inappropriate or improper. Russell. Randy Brandy. Forward in time, post-Hawaii, post-breakup, Hampstead, London, 2007. Dina is still resting on her tummy, but this time Randall is beneath her. They are fully clothed. She doesn't quite know why she has once again agreed to visit Randall after he has texted her. It is not a sexual encounter. An air hostess has just left. An object. Oh no, not this bit. An object, not of affection, nor of much purpose. Dina understands, even though it's not the path she chooses to take now, but she is still weak to Russell. Not because she is in love with him, but because they have a magnetism of sorts. And can we kink shame this? I think we can. He tells her how he accidentally partially urinated on the floor next to the toilet and how he told the object to lick his piss as he penetrated her from behind. He shares the story with childlike deviance, told not by a satyr, more like a teenager revealing a dirty little tale. Dina is neither shocked nor impressed. She considers the woman an object too. I've read so much about his we this evening that I'm beginning to shut down. Dina and Randall have discussed this subject many times before, how there are certain girls or women, ladies, who suit being objectified, that they suit this role and almost enjoy it. Almost enjoy it. Well, you'd hope if they're doing it, they would enjoy it and get something out of it. They certainly do not contest or resist it. This is what they know and expect of themselves, and so others do too. Dina knows that Randall does not consider her an object. She is more the emulsifier in the equation, the pacifier if things do not go to plan. They are an alpha male and alpha female team. Yeah, right, Dina, you think so. There's nothing wrong with being a sub, of course, or submissive, but there's everything wrong about how this is being spoken about by these two people. I'm including Dina in that too. After all, alpha females always pick up their males' bottles of piss because they were too sad to get up and use the toilet because they were obsessing over a more talented artist's book. This is the work of true alphas. Hawaii, 2007. Walking back into the bungalow, Dina looks at Randall. Smugness is written all over his face. Who are you speaking to? He asks with a touch of accusation in his voice. My brother, Dina says for a smile. You were laughing a lot, he states the obvious before continuing, and you always talk about him. Are you sexually attracted to your brother? Randall asks Dina and says it with jealousy in his voice, with conviction. Still spread out on the bed, hands behind his head, looking at her, clearly waiting for an answer to his misplaced question, and Dina knows that he is assessing her body language. What? She says, as more of a statement of incredulity than a question. Why are you stalling for time? He responds with a sense of self-righteousness, and he continues. You heard the question, so why don't you answer it? Why do you even have to think about it? Good thing Rusty Rockets is an only child, because he definitely would have banged a sister. Literally the next paragraph. Still Hawaii. She is on the made-up bed with Randall and he has asked her to turn the dictaphone off so he can tell her a story, an anecdote from his life. I think it was like some family do, New Year's party or something, he tells her. Your cousin? Why? She asks as she wrinkles her nose. Because it was on a plate, he says, matter-of-fact by his oral sexual encounter. And we were bored. Say... Mothers lock up your daughters, aunts, not uncles, well, maybe, nans, sisters. Dina imagines him in a bathroom with her, to him just a willing woman, and she shrugs it off. After all, it is legal for first cousins to marry in the UK, she thinks. Girl, you need to sort your life out and stop being so blasé about men being grim. You look ridiculously sexy, he says, not with affection, nor does he say it with intention of wooing her into bed. He says it with unease and continues, you shouldn't be allowed out dressed like that. Dina looks down at her body, assesses her attire next to his comment. A loose white vest top, not too low but a little sheer and tucked into a denim skirt, which had once been a pair of oversized jeans. Her legs are tanned as she is wearing white sandals. I think all women should wear burqas, Randall states. Dina laughs loudly, but she can see now that he is being serious. It is no news to Dina that Randall considers the way women dress to be for the benefit of the opposite sex. No wonder he and Jordan Peterson get on so well. Jordan Peterson, well, why do women wear red lipstick? It's to emulate arousal during sex to attract men, because my man has never heard of a cut crease or highlighter or orange, purple, black, green lipstick or any makeup. He thinks all makeup is women for the benefit of men, but a man, well, almost all heterosexual men will never compliment you on your cut crease or contour. So shut up, Jordan Peterson, what do you know? It's no news to Dina that Randall considers the way women dress to be for the benefit of the opposite sex, alluring and enticing, a trigger to his habits perhaps. Randall's habits are all about distraction, displacing the reality for surrealism, thus moving him away from his worries, his loneliness and his fears, at least for a short while. This is what Dina has learnt since being his girlfriend. Yeah, or Russell, you could just learn to control yourself instead. Wild concept, I know. I'm going to go on Dragon's Den to get funding for male chastity pants. They unlock only once a week and you have to get a code generated after taking a quiz on feminist history. After the recording, Dina and Russell are heading to a Jack Johnson concert with some of the crew members. She likes his music and is excited. She is wearing a pale bikini top paired with an Eastern-style black and gold skirt with tiny brass coins at the base. It drops to her hips and she looks like a westernized belly dancer. It is cooler today, so she grabs for a jacket. Why do you always dress it like an attention-seeking tart? That's rich, isn't it, Russell? Randall comments with disapproving tone. Russell Brand, who is baptizing people in a lake wearing just his underwear. Wants to talk about other people being attention seeking. Why are you dressed like a tart? Why are you in your underwear? In fact, for some women, Russell, the sight of that, you in your ugly Y fronts would be quite arousing. Why don't you cover up and put on some clothes? Let's just slut shame him back. I'm doing it. I'm going slut shame, body shame, all of the shamings, kink shame, all of it. I don't care. You have to fight toxic with toxic. No more being nice and like keeping the peace, being the, what's it called? Being the bigger person. Why should I be the bigger person? I want to be the lower person. Well, keep the peace for who? Because it's not keeping the peace for me, is it? Disrupt the peace. 2025. Waste his time. Randall comments with a disapproving tone. Dina is shocked, especially because he says this in earshot of other people, and she is embarrassed, but not completely downtrodden. She summons that strength from within, along with a little stubbornness, and wears the outfit despite his jibe. She flits to later that day. She is in the department store with Randall, and he is buying her a pair of trousers so that she can change out of the black and gold skirt she is wearing. It is clear that neither her strength nor stubbornness have remained. Thank you, she says gratefully, meek to her boyfriend as he hands her the trousers at the cash register. Not all controlling. Why do you always dress like a tart? Asks Russell as his own nipples fall free of the V-neck masquerading as clothing, while the feather in his hat flops about as if it had been drugged and his bracelets flash, distracting passing traffic. I've been told that you have been flirting, he delivers with a type of knowledge of power superiority. Dina's ears prick up, as do her eyes and her gut. She speaks. What? Who said that? I'm not going to tell you who, he replies indigently, as if it is a ludicrous request. They argue about this and he keeps accusing her of things, which is ironic considering he was shagging the extras in this film. He keeps winding her up and she's like, fine, I'll call the actor who you're accusing me of flirting with, and then Russell relents. He didn't really say you were flirting, he admits, but I wanted to see how you'd react. Again, a 32-year-old man is acting like this. This is some shit that teenagers do. Randall and Dina seem to discuss everything and anything, subjects more of a serious nature than comical. Randall is one of the most serious people Dina has ever encountered. He certainly takes himself seriously and cannot accept ridicule, unless it is self-mockery. He is actually going to cry when I write my parody, Oblomov, about him, which I'm going to do. It'll be out later this year. Probably for like $4.99 because it'll be a full-length novel. He is going to cry and I'm going to relish in that. I cannot wait. Russell Brand tears. I'm going to sell merchandise that says Russell Brand tears. Hawaii. Mugs, that is. May the 22nd, 2007. She is drowning in a heavy atmosphere of arrogance. She has walked into a wall of it. It is so dense that it feels almost as if she cannot breathe. Are you sure it's just not the concoction of him farting and pissing everywhere? Sorry. No, why should I say sorry? He's not doing it. Her present soul feels suffocated, an illness of sorts. Randall has been filming a sex scene. Has the attention inflated his ego? He is sprawled on the bed, hands behind his head, a pose she knows depicts the egotistical Randall. She watches him and glides across his vision with discomfort, attempts to cut through the thick, arrogant air with her light, precise steps. I shouldn't have just one girlfriend, he says, breaking the silence, oozing a complex of satire of Messiah, and then continues, I should have 12, all of them around me, a harem of girlfriends. He's going to make that church cult and sleep with people who aren't his wife, just you wait. Dina looks at him, feels disrespected. 12, she says silently, but loud in her mind, loudly and angrily, like he is some kind of Jesus with his adoring, subordinate, feminine disciples. She verbalizes none of her thoughts. You can be one of the 12, he adds with complete seriousness, as if he is complimenting her. She is serious too, and agitated. She replies, I don't want to be one of them, thanks. Go on then, find yourself 12 girlfriends, see how far you get. Dina can see he is affected by the film set, the osmotic nature of fame, the smothering of pseudo-glory towards fake figures, building up mere mortal to something more, something better. She had made a point of not attending his radio recording this evening, stamping a footprint in the sand. She has her own life. She has accepted an invitation to dinner with some of the cast members. Randall doesn't like this. Why? It could be for a number of reasons. Because he feels ostracized, or because he wants Dina with him for support at his show, so she can accompany him to the male toilets while he defecates. Or so he has an audience when he shares witty words over the sound waves. Perhaps so he has somebody to kiss or to cuddle on the journey home. Or so he can feel in control of the situation. Or maybe because he dreads that she is after his fame and the fortune of people around her. The fame that he so desperately strives for. Why is it okay for him to want fame but not her? Not that she does, but, you know, again. Whatever his reason, Dina is soon to be reminded that this is his world, a world in which he makes the rules. She is in the bungalow alone now, wondering for a moment why Randall has not yet returned from the show. Her phone alerts her to receipt of a text message. Randall tells her that he has a migraine and asks her to put a pink tablet out ready for him. Why doesn't he just get himself when he comes home? She wonders. He probably wants sympathy, she concludes, as she prepares for the tablet for his return. Dina is sure there is something wrong. She knows Randall's moods, his tones, his guilt. She knows he has had sex with another woman. She senses it. This will be the second time during their short relationship that he has bypassed her for a quick fix. Everything else she has known about, encouraged on occasions or partaken in. But she thought he had actively wanted to change. He had said as much. His words, his choice. And he had said this with the most commitment to her in the Champney swimming pool before they had travelled overseas. Even then she had wondered if truly he could give up having sex with strangers. A person giving their body to a stranger is one thing, but something else is shared too, or taken, or is lost. And with Randall, well, it brings his sadness to the surface. This time it is partnered with a horrid headache. Again, exhausting. He clambers in through the door. He looks a mess, not necessarily visually, but his energy, as predicted, is split into random dark shapes with pointed edges. Dina knows that his reason for straying this evening is because she has not accompanied him to his recording. He probably perceives her seemingly innocent choice to stay and socialise and not be cold and tired in a radio studio for several hours as the actual act of betrayal. And so he decides to betray her in return. Maybe he had just been utterly annoyed with her and he had to counteract this emotion with frivolous sex with another woman. Dina knows Randall's relationship with sex. She knows he loves her, and she knows he feels horrible, to the point where he has manifested this migraine as a way to suppress everything, the sordid happenings of that encounter, just to swallow it away with a pill. Thanks, he said softly, and continues the confirming blow Dina has been waiting for. I fucked that extra. He says it as though he is saying something so extraordinary, so accepted. That extra he speaks of is a lady who made a pass at him on one of the earlier days of filming. Randall had declined at the time, and he had told Dina the story. He continues to tell her now that Carla waited for him in a limo outside the woman's accommodation. A woman older than him, average attractiveness, not slim, not fresh, but very willing. Dina tells him she's leaving. Just because I shagged that woman doesn't mean anything. She is just a woman, he says with conviction. Where are you going to go back to? He asks, spitting words out of deep green, and continues. To your ex-husband? Dina laughs with disdain. What? I left him last year, so why would I go back to him now? Or with that other bloke then, he says, clearly referring to the man who she had been close with previous to their relationship. So he gets jealous of the two other men Dina has been with her whole life, whilst he's allowed to sleep with hundreds of women. She wants to go back home, but he doesn't want her to and asks to go for a walk with him. Dina looks down at his lower body. You're wearing pants and I'm in see-through underwear, she says quietly, not looking at Randall's face. So? She finds his reply so contrary to his usual responses when he accuses her of dressing like a tart, of telling her not to sunbathe because it means her wearing a bikini in public. Utterly charming. This man couldn't possibly be an abusive misogynist, could he? No, it's definitely all a massive conspiracy against him, dating back to 2014 from this book's publication because he's so anti-establishment. In fact, the conspiracy against him goes back further to when he allegedly got banned from Edinburgh Fringe all that time ago. A man like this couldn't possibly be abusive. It's unheard of. She decides not to go back to England because of the codependence. Dina encourages Russell as he surfs towards the beach. She has persuaded him to come surfing with her and he has agreed, mainly because he had not been keen on the idea of her going alone with a male instructor. We'd be alright if it was just us on an island and no one else, Randall says to her, still looking out at the waves. But then you won't have anyone else to shag. They go to swim with sharks. The captain and his colleague have already lowered the cage and she is distracted by the commotion. A middle-aged woman, well-worn, perhaps the subject of an excellent plastic surgeon, certainly in the best breast department, is in a frenzy. What does well-worn mean? There's genuinely no need of this from the author, and I'd suggest not coming across as a pick-me / being unlikable, because generally people judge unlikability of a woman harsher than sexual abuse and harassment from a man. They are reading a story about one of Russell's former lovers. Randall says, this is the girl that I told to leave because she got the wrong food for Smithy, the name for his cat. He laughs. He talked about this in a stand-up set. Maybe the same Forget a Sarah Marshall one, but he reframed it the other way. One of how his model ex-girlfriend went to the newspaper and said he would fly off the handle about anything, even about buying the wrong cat food. And he said something like, could it be that I was miserable about life, the inevitability of death? No. It was definitely just about the cat food, mocking her, but clearly it was just about the cat food because it's been mentioned a few times in this book. I'm going to become Russell's worst enemy because I know way too much about him that he cannot get away with anything. So Dina's ex had gone to the paper about her, I can't find it online anywhere, saying she left him for Russell, though Dina insists the timeline is that she divorced her husband, had a new boyfriend, and then dated Russell 6 months post-divorce. Russell tells her not to read the article, but reads out the hurtful bits to mock her. She assumes he is scrolling down the article. He looks like he is reading, eyes active, mind slightly preoccupied. They make him sound pathetic, he continues. Dina is curious to read it now, but the mistruths will bother her. Ha! They say you are a gold digger, he says with a sense of smugness. Dina knows how the media works. Tabloids have already lied about her age and how and when the couple first met, all because she has not spoken with them. Randall obviously knows how the media works too, as well as how to work it, yet he continues, "It says that you wanted to adopt a kid," he recites mockingly. She feels he is being judgmental and actually a little nasty too. She recalls from earlier in their relationship, Randall saying with release in his tone, it's a good job and lucky that she had not had a child with her ex-husband. She covers him in suntan lotion so he can sunbathe at the beach, and, "You were supposed to cover me in lotion," he spits as he throws a glance at himself in the mirror. He is gently tanned all over, but his eyelids are visibly red and sunburnt. He complains that they are sore. She responds through a snigger and cannot help it, partly through nerves and partly because she finds it a little comical. "Well, I didn't realise I had to do your eyelids," she says apologetically. He throws her a look of disgust. What a child. Dina rolls her eyes at him, propped up against the headboard of the bed, wearing just his underpants and looking at his bad phone. It's that Janie again, the page 3 girl. "Look," he says, and stretches his arm forward and shows Dina a short video of the pint-sized Bond's manicured fingernails on her own flesh. And then without speaking, he shows Dina another photo of the slim model. "She's pretty," Dina says. "She's all right," he replies, and then continues. "She's asked me to text her a photo so she knows it's me." Dina looks at him, as if to say it is a preposterous thing to do. A famous man texting a girl who models naked for the country's most read tabloid. "Can you take one?" he continues with an expression of expectancy. Dina smiles so big, but avoids turning it into a laugh. "Are you going to send you one of her looking like that?" Dina asks through that same stifled laughter. I hope Dina has grown a backbone since writing this. Russell hears that his ex-girlfriend got a job on, this at the same radio that he works, I think, and is threatening to quit unless they sack her. Dina watches him and listens with astonishment. She then rapidly remembers his reaction to his best friend attending a famous rock star's party. It meant that Stephen had been unable to present with him on the radio, with the distant setup of Randall in Hawaii and Stephen in London. He admitted to Dina that he had felt this had been a deep act of betrayal. He does not appear to think like other people. He just sacks people from his life if they do anything he classifies as betrayal, which is over-dramatic in Dina's opinion, or if they do something that does not adhere to his overall plan at that given moment. It is as if he tunes into a preemptive rejection and hits the eject button before others can reject him first. Randall ends up sacking his interior designer mainly because she annoys him, but Dina thinks that it could also be because despite his stateless, Haley views his attitude as spoiled, and she has not been enchanted by him, as most people tend to be. I cannot wait for him to fall out of Jordan Peterson, presumably over attempting to shag his daughter. Don't look at me like that, it is inevitable. Hey, Jordan, what's the Jungian archetype for grifting so hard you attract the world's most renowned sex pest to your side and risk inflicting him on your own daughter? What a classic tale. She is in a solemn mood, exhausted with the emotional aspect of their relationship, and she has gradually become a little introverted, which is not gone unnoticed by a few of the crew members who have mentioned this to her. The assistant director enters the truck with her vibrant energy, and after greeting everybody, she addresses her question at Dina, who is taken aback. "Do you have a working visa for America?" "No, I don't think so," Dina replies, looking at her directly but feeling Randall's eyes burn lasers into her face. "Okay," she says, and pauses for a moment as if pondering. "It's just that in the extra material on the film, we want a beautiful girl in the music video, and we thought that you'd be perfect," she adds. Dina is so aware of Randall's energy that she laughs off the comments and does not discuss visas or work further. She senses Randall's scrutinizing stare. Maybe he thinks that she is ready to take the opportunity to jump on his fame, to impinge on his first Hollywood movie. She shrinks. She soaks in the words that have been spoken to her and is surprised that she has been called beautiful. She does not feel it, and she has lost her confidence to perform, even if her narcissistic boyfriend were to allow it. Dina sleepily follows the glow of light that is coming from the dining room in Russell's flat. She guesses he cannot sleep again. He is typing his name into search engines. She can see he is exhausted, yet his energy is switched on. Something deep within, an impulse, his urge to monitor his status. Whilst everybody indulges in their self-certain status on occasion, likely famous people more so than the average Joe, Randall peruses fan sites, forums and news bulletins in the dead of night almost every night. I never Google myself because I don't care, I'm not interested. But Russell needs to get a hobby and read a book, and I hope he sees this video. This is Elon Musk behaviour. Randall continues his search for approval from his fans, openly accessing how high his fame status has climbed since the previous night of surfing. "Look, they talk about you," he says, gesturing her towards the screen where fans have mentioned the relationship. Some have even set up a page supporting them as a couple. Dina smiles with a little acceptance, but also because she is not sure how to respond. It proves how easy it is to get caught up in the spiderweb of comments, each website linking to the next, the urge to keep on searching, trying to find nice words of acceptance from the masses. "This one says that they think we soup, that we'll have good-looking babies," Randall adds, and he continues to scroll through the thread. Dina wonders what it is he is really searching for, whether it is acceptance, whether it is approval, or just because he is deeply arrogant. My money's on the arrogance. She is sitting next to Randall on the sofa and his housekeeper is also present. He has asked Dina to watch a recording of his recent interview on a popular chat show. Her eyes close a little due to tiredness, but she feels the nudge of his elbow, ushering her and Penn to keep their eyes on the television. "Look, watch this bit. I'm really funny here." That's how I talk about myself. He says, eyes fixed on his brand, himself. The face, the hair, the jewellery, the makeup, the costume, the vocabulary, the purposeful pauses, the hand movements, the penetrating stare, the big laugh and the levelling with the viewers, all of which want to be with him or be like him or loathe the fact that they are compelled to watch him. She has always assumed that they would be friends. Randall, however, insists men and women cannot exist in a union without sex, and it appears that he has been correct about this also, at least when it comes to himself. I actually implore Jordan Peterson to take this on board and keep his daughter away from Russell. Jordan Peterson, is actually your duty as a man and as a father to protect your daughter from wayward men. So if you don't take this on board, you completely fail as a figure of masculinity. The last time I saw Russell Brand live, I mentioned this a bit earlier, I'm saying a different thing here. I don't remember when, it was in the last few years, maybe 2021. I didn't want to go, I had a free ticket and I was staying in Bath, so I figured, why not? I knew whilst watching him that I had completely outgrown him at this point, which is a good thing. But after the show, he came off the stage, he walked through the crowd, surrounded by people, out onto the street, still surrounded by people, and was walking down the street, probably holding up traffic, acting literally as though he was a messiah, blessing people lucky enough to be in his presence. It was insane and actually incredibly off-putting. And he was already religious at this point, so in my eyes, there's just no way that he's actually changed for the better. If he had, he wouldn't be doing attention-seeking things like being like baptizing people in what the Thames and his wife runs. He wouldn't be doing attention-seeking stuff like this if he'd actually changed for the better. He lives for the attention, for feeling better than others, more than others, and Christianity hasn't changed or saved him, especially as he now thinks he's so important that he's baptizing people. Whilst in his underpants, of course, because you've got to be nearly naked to baptize people. There's no other way to do it. She observes her flaccid boyfriend begin to touch himself. He is small, soft, and looks so detached mentally and emotionally. She understands the benefits and pleasures of masturbation and even tells Randall that she indulges in addition to their active sex life, although he doesn't respond well to this. Of course he wouldn't want his women masturbating without him. He's fine to shag about though. Someone please pin him to a chair like in A Clockwork Orange and force him to watch footage of his partners with previous men. I'm pretty sure it worked out fine for Alex. So let's do it to Russell. She knows that if a woman appears to be beautiful, particularly of a certain status, he will overtly want her to be enchanted by him. He'll flirt insatiably, be as more likely to bed an unattractive doting woman or porn star stereotype or an object, or have an encounter with somebody who increases status rather than a woman of elegance and beauty. He saves this type of caliber for potential girlfriend material. There's something about the Madonna whore complex here, I'm sure. Dina's relationship with Russell has been honest and open, and in the short term they have been devoted in a way that maybe not every person would understand, mainly because most people probably do not understand Randall Grand. They may think that they do because they have read his books, or because they have listened to him speak, or because they have shared a night of passion with him. Passion which is often fabricated, as most of his stories are. Passion that is taken from a novel or from a movie, with music, mirrors, toys, and more than exaggerated movements, and detachment and deviance, and an act of basic physical release, act being the operative word in Dina's mind, certainly when it comes to sex with strangers or with objects. She believes he pushes boundaries, controlling other people to fulfill personal perversions for the sake of dominance, for the sake of something. Again, there's no way this nice bloke turned out to be abusive. There's just no way. And yeah, Dina, your relationship has been open and honest, except for all those times you mentioned above where you hid your feelings and don't express your actual thoughts. I'm sure you know him better than most people, but let's not pretend you were anything like equals in his mind. When it came to her sex life with Randall, it is so complex, she knows which role to assume depending on his character, and this is subconscious and for self-preservation. She has not always had the best, safest experiences with him. She is content having a varied sex life, even as complex as it is with Randall, but she doesn't like the control and negativity that can often be associated with it. The saucy, the experimental, the weird, the boring, the sexual, the sordid, the dark, the light, the loving, the complicated, the unpleasant, solo, paired, multiple, so many experiences, and Dina has decided to leave them just as that. Dina is in a hotel room. Randall has his hands firmly on her bottom and his head on the inside of her thighs. He is moving her body around the bed in a frenzy of what is clearly frustration. He is hurting her, and the roughness of his stubble is no longer pleasurable but sore. She sighs with relief because he moves his face away, but as he does, he flings her to one side of the bed. She looks up, peers through her hair. Confusion creeps over her as she watches him flick his hair back, revealing his annoyed expression. "Why haven't you had an orgasm?" he asks her with the same annoyance in his voice that he shows in his face. She brings her legs closer to her body and sits on a pillow. "Because you are really hurting me," she explains through a slight wince. She sees in his expression that he too is aware that he is being rough. "Well, what happens if we ever get to the point where you don't orgasm through penetration? Then at least I know you will like that," he says, referring to the oral. Dina is sure that he must have a hang-up about this. Maybe this has happened before, she thinks. She has orgasms pretty much all of the time whenever she has sex, but she is aware that some females, she needs to stop calling them females, struggle to. She proceeds to do something that she has not done before, something she is not believing. She fakes the next 2 orgasms with her boyfriend. She does it for the wrong reasons, to maintain his ego, to avoid more unkindness to her. She doesn't do it again. She is not sure how convincing she has been. Post-Hawaii, they are hooking up but separated. He demands to know if she has slept with anyone else. She has, and then he seems to get off on it. She climaxes, and after a moment he joins her, and then she feels instantly the shove of his hands fling her body to the middle of the bed. He disregards her. "Why are you being like this?" she asks. "Because you slept with someone else behind my back," he retorts. Dina is under the impression they are no longer officially in a relationship. "So it's okay for you two," she says morosely. Earlier in the relationship, trigger warning, Dina is on the phone to her ex. Trigger warning, abuse, sexual and controlling. "My ex-boyfriend, because I have to meet him to get my leather hodl," she says matter of fact. Randall looks angry. "Promise me you won't meet him or call him again, or your ex-husband," he demands. He snatches her phone from her hands, which makes her jump a little. She gawps as he rips the case apart, pulling out the battery. "Huh? I can't believe you just broken my phone," she responds. She shares a shocked laugh and swipes back the 3 pieces from him. Dina walks into the closest room so that she can be away from him. She stands next to the sink of the small kitchen and places her phone by the basket of herbal teas. She looks up. Randall has followed her. He does not say a word. He stands so close to her. He slides his hands down the front of her low-hanging jeans into her underwear and forces a finger inside of her. She is not ready for this intrusion, nor does she find it sensual or pleasant. She is not sure if he intends it to be either. Randall walks out of the room silently, leaving Dina confused, uncomfortable, and a little stunned. Like, he clearly did that to display dominance over her and to degrade her in a way. Well, not in a way, and to degrade her. North London, maybe March 2007. The light is dim. She is naked on top of Randall. The object in the room is being somewhat ignored by the star-crossed lovers. Dina's eyes are fixed on Randall's, and she can see his full face over flesh. He whispers, "I love you," as he thrusts deeper. "I love you too," she mouths back to him. And I don't know what I'm meant to do with that last bit of information. The final chapter is more of the snake metaphor stuff, and then it ends. So, what have we learnt from this book? Russell Brand is a freak. The end. I think all those times when he went on about his Messiah complex and how he thinks he can do that, this and that, we should just believe him. When he states who he is, let's just believe him. I don't think all of these women are independently lying about the same stuff to one another. I think it's pretty clear who he is as a person. And that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Please check out my ebook, The Prime Minister's Porky Mistress, that is on Amazon. $2.99. Parody, satire, it's comedy, alright? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.